Hello everyone, this is another video from Easy Electric series, and today we want to learn about VFD relay and how we could trigger and use these VFD relay. So if you take a look to the control panel of the VFD and also the data sheet here, so you see in the control terminals on the VFD there is three terminals, which is they label as a R1, R2, R3. So here you see the shape of these terminals. So these three terminals is VFD relay. So with which the R2 is a common relay, and between R2 and 1 is normally open, and between R2, 2 and 3 is normally closed. So that means whenever you have a trigger, whenever you have no trigger, this is open, this is closed. Whenever you get the trigger, technically this one is closed and this one is open. So we will learn which parameters we could actually use to trigger these relay that we have. So for this video, let to make the circuit that I made here, let to have a 24-volt lamp and also use the external 24-volt source. So and make these circuits so the positive of 20 external 24-volt comes to the RT, so the other side of that, which is the R1, should be connect to the one side of the lamp, and the other side of the lamp connect to the negative of the source that we have. So it is better to use external 24 volt rather than use these 24 volt that we have on the terminal 11. So there is a reason. Number one, technically you isolate these two systems. So the second one, you overload the source of the VFD that we have. So for that two reason, it is better to use external 24 volt. So now let's see how we could trigger these relay. So if we trigger, because between the lamp is between R1 and R2, without trigger it should be actually off, because this is normally open whenever we get the trigger, so it should be turned on. Let's see how we could use which parameters to somehow trigger that relay that we have. So if you go down to the parameters that we have. So the first thing is this is the same setting that we have for three wire. So that means P36 already is one. We already set up these in the previous video. 37 is ramp and P38 is a 2. Reference is 010 volt. That means we have a potentiometer external, or remove the potentiometer. So that means we have a start, stop, and also one switch for reverse backward, and also the potentiometer to adjust the frequency. Same setting that we had in previous video. Now you want to somehow give some trigger to that relay. So as you see, I reroute the same thing here, R1, R2, R2 connected to the 24 volt. This is normally open relay, and this side connected to the lamp. So there is two common advanced parameters that you could use. So that is A055. So if on A is 55, I give 0, it says ready, so or fault. That means whenever motor is ready, so it should be actually have a trigger and the lamp is on. We will test that in few minutes. So if you give 1, it says at frequency. So that means there is no trigger here. Whenever the VFD or motor follow the ramp and increase the frequency, there is no trigger, but whenever it is at the max frequency that you already adjusted, it's actually turn on the light or give a trigger. So whenever we give a trigger, technically this turn on. So we will try all of them. Motor running, so that means whenever motor running, you have a trigger, the lamp should be on. Whenever motor goes reverse, you have a trigger, it should be on if you give 3. If you give 4, it's just you have a trigger or the lamp is on whenever motor is overloaded. More it means the thermal motor overloaded. So above frequency is a little different. Whenever you put above the frequency, which is you give 6 to A055 parameters, you actually need to give which frequency. You should actually manually give the frequency. So it comes from the advanced A056 parameter. So here you give which frequency. So if I give, for example, 20 hertz, whenever the frequency is above the 20 hertz, it should have a trigger and the lamp should be on. Be just careful about difference of 1 and 6. In 1 and 6 you give any frequency here with A056, but in 1 it is just the max frequency that you already actually give. Okay, let's go to our training set and somehow practice all these parameters that we have here. Okay, so still we have the 3 wire setting. So the only things we add here is these light. So I have an external 24-volt source here, which is the ground of that external 24-volt connect to one side of your lamp. So the second part or side of your lamp comes to R1, and the R2 technically connect to the positive of your external 24-volt power supply. So technically the positive 24-volt is here, it is in the other side of the lamp R1. So whenever you have a trigger, these two technically provide the 24-volt positive to the other side of the lamp and is turned on. So that means whenever this light is on, so technically we have a trigger and that normally close between R1 and R2 somehow is closed. So let's do practice few parameters that we have on A55. So let's start with some parameters. So let's do actually goes to the A, and we choose 55, and in 55 we go to the first one, which is 0. So I put actually the 0. As you see immediately the light is on, which is because the parameter 0 in A55 is ready. As long as your VFD ready to run, so you have a trigger and the light is on. So as you see here, I actually turn that on. It goes to the frequency max, which is a 50, and even if I stop it, it still is on because the motor still is ready to actually start. So go to the next one. So the next one here in A55 should be, I change that to the 1. Take a look to the data sheet. 1 is at max frequency. So that means you could adjust your frequency with this variable resistor. So whenever the VFD reach to that frequency, that somehow turn on that. So right now we have on 50. So if I start it, you see the frequency go up at 50, should be turned that on. So as you see, if I decrease that or increase, it should be somehow adjust itself. Whenever it's reached to that, will be on. Let's do adjust this with this to the 30 and see is it working or not. Now the max is 30. I stop it again. So now let's see, should be turned on at 30 hertz that we adjust with this variable resistor. Let's see that. So I turn that on, so it's still off. At 30 it's actually turned that on. So that's what we call actually at frequency max, which is parameter 1 in A55. So the next one is motor running. Let's go to A55 and increase that to the 2. So what 2 tells? 2 tells it should be turned on whenever motor is running. So as you see here, motor is off, is not on whenever I turn on. So the light is on, which actually telling us our motor is running. So whenever you stop, just be careful. Whenever you stop, it's turn off whenever motor is completely stop of spinning. So I start it, it's actually immediately is on, and even you check the frequency, whenever you stop it, it stop whenever frequency is 0 and motor stop from spinning. So let's do the next parameter here. Let's do 3. So 3 is reverse. So whenever motor turn reverse, it should be actually turn that on. So I put 3 immediately is on because now we are on the reverse. You see these LED, but we could actually test that. So I turn that on, still I'm on the reverse. So you see these reverse and motor also spinning on the reverse. So now if I change the direction with this, it should be actually off. So see what's happened here. I change the direction, it goes to the 0. Whenever it goes to the forward, it's off. So again, now let's go to the reverse and sees it on the reverse. So see now it's a reverse and it's actually on. Okay, let's go to the next parameter is let's try number 4 is the motor overload. We don't have a mechanical overload here that able to overload the motor. So, but it's just give you a trigger or turn on the light whenever motor on the overload. Let's check the 6, which is a parameter 6 is in conjunction with A56. It says above frequency. Let's see what it means. Let's stop it. Comes here and go to the 55 and increase that to the 6. So which is above frequency. You should give which frequency you want. Whenever it's go over that specific frequency, it should be turned on. So let's go to the A56. That's the place that you should give that frequency. So go A56 and say 20, let's say 25 hertz and say enter, okay? So enter. So now let's see, whenever the frequency is 25 hertz, it should be turned on. I started, it goes up. Whenever it is 25 hertz, it's on. Even I could use these variable resistor, maybe increase the frequency to, let's say 50. Yeah, the 49. So now let's see, whenever it goes, to stop it, whenever it goes over 25 should be on. Let's see that. So now it's 0, it still is less than 25. Now 25 at it's that turned on. So I hope you like this video.